T. Hair flip, yeah, I'm a badass bitch. I don't like it. Hair flip, yeah. Oh my god. So you guys should be happy. Oh my goodness. Hair flip. But anyways, hair flip. Hair flipping on these hoes. Hi. When Hollywood director Peter Bogdanovich published the book The Killing of the Unicorn, a love letter to his late partner, Playboy mate Dorothy Stratten, an invective against the role Playboy supposedly had in her eventual murder. On Stratton's first night as a playmate, Bogdanovich claims Hefner forced himself upon her in his famous jacuzzi grotto. Publishers removed the word rape under pressure from Hefner's lawyers. Life in the Playboy dominion was fearful and exploitive for Stratten. Bogdanovich says to the point that she married an abusive man for protection. Her husband shot Stratten to death, then himself, in 1980. Dorothy Stratten was a beautiful woman that got discovered at the age of 18 by a man named Paul Snyder. Eventually, they got married, but when they did, she didn't know that he was a pimp, and who he wanted to pimp was her. She got discovered by Hugh Hefner and became a Playboy model, and after that, some things transpired. Allegedly, the first night she was invited to the Playboy mansion in the famous grotto that Hugh Hefner has, she allegedly got raped by him inside of the jacuzzi. She had sex with him without her consent. She was allegedly drugged on Quaaludes, and things went from there. She ended up being extremely terrified of Hugh Hefner, and she worked really close with him. She ended up marrying her husband out of protection. He was already abusive to her, but she didn't mind because he protected her. He made sure that no one did anything to her, and the physical pain that he put on her, the mental abuse, the emotional abuse, all of that stuff, it had nothing on what Hugh Hefner did to her. That rape traumatized her. She was extremely afraid. And remember, she still worked with Hugh, so her husband was very essential to her because, like I said, he's hurt her, but nothing like Hugh. The relationship ended up dissolving, and she started dating a local famous director. And in the process of that, her husband, in a jealous rage, killed her, and he committed suicide not soon after. Hefner denied the accusation and reciprocated with allegations of his own. Amid an all-consuming media war, the original charges were soon forgotten. More recently, in 2014, Chloe Goins, a model, claimed in a lawsuit that Bill Cosby drugged and raped her in 2008, and that the Playboy Mansion was the scene of the crime. The lawsuit named Hefner as a conspirator, defended Hefner's actions of inviting and hosting young and impressionable and possibly minor children low his residence and providing alcoholic beverages and other foreign substances was negligent at the very least. The jury trial requesting and damaging seeking complaint filed Monday in LA Superior Court adding the Playboy founder to the case. Additionally, his act of inviting or housing and introducing defendant Cosby, the defendant Hefner knew or should have known had a history of severe and serial sexual battery and or possibly rape of women, was negligent at the very least. And defendant Hefner knew or should have known such actions would lead to harm of his invitees and plaintiff. Back on February 2nd, Goins filed a dismissal without prejudice of her October 2015 case against Cosby, who she once called a serial rapist. While that action appeared to indicate a settlement had been reached in the lawsuit, the without prejudice part meant Goins could try to get Cosby before the courts again, as has happened today. That dismissal by the 26-year-old model came less than a month later after the LA District Attorney's Office decided that Cosby would not face criminal charges over sexual assault incidents that allegedly occurred 8 years ago when she was 18 years old. Part of the reason at the given time by DA Jackie Lacey's office was that witnesses Goins had claimed existed would not back up her story, with somewhat graphic descriptions of how much accused Cosby allegedly plied her with drinks, drugs, and then, while she was unconscious, assaulted and molested her. Goins' lawyer Spencer Coven of West Palm Beach, Florida, and new attorney Kevin Kasek of Rolling Hills Estates, CA Today, cited other cases that have merged of the past supposed Cosby's incidents at the mansion to claim host Hefner was familiar with the defendant Cosby's habit and act of intoxicating young women and spending the night with them while at his residence.
Tonight against Playboy magazine founder Hugh Hefner.
A Southern California woman claims that Hefner knew that Bill Cosby sexually assaulted her, but did nothing to stop it. KCAL9's Tom Wade is live in the newsroom at this hour with the latest on the case of Chloe Goins. Tom?
And Jeff, tomorrow morning, Chloe Goins will hold a press conference to detail the new accusations in her lawsuit. She's essentially saying that Hugh Hefner allowed Bill Cosby to use his home to violate her. Chloe Goins is back in the headlines as she files a second sexual abuse lawsuit against besieged comedian Bill Cosby. But unlike the other women who are taking Cosby to court, Goins is also suing Hugh Hefner, accusing him of allowing Cosby to sexually abuse her during a party at the Playboy Mansion back in 2008.
To bring in someone other than the actual accused perpetrator is legally significant, and it's interesting.
CBS 2 legal analyst Steve Meister says it may be difficult to prove Hefner had a role in the alleged incident.
Theory of liability is that Hugh Hefner had to have known about this and either not stopped it or did something to encourage it.
Goins claims Cosby spiked her drink during the party, then sexually assaulted her in one of the home's bedrooms. Goins says she does not remember exactly what happened or the exact date it happened, but claims she woke up with Cosby licking her toes and zipping up his pants.
What the plaintiff's attorney has noted is that by bringing in Hefner as a defendant, they're hoping to figure out when this might have occurred, which seems to be putting the cart before the horse.
The LA County DA's office reviewed Goins' case but decided not to file criminal charges against Cosby. Meister says some of the reasons the criminal case was never filed may haunt Goins in her civil case.
The DA's office rejected the case for two reasons. First, there were some uncorroborated facts. And second, they couldn't figure out when exactly it occurred, so they didn't know whether it was outside the statute of limitations.
We reached out to Playboy's publicist to get comment. We did not hear back. We also reached out to Goins' attorney. Did not hear back from them this evening either. You might remember that Goins had filed a lawsuit and then she dropped it back in February, and her attorney had said previously the reason why she did that is that she could add Hefner to the lawsuit. We're live tonight in the newsroom. Let's go back to you, Elsa.
Woman alleges Cosby raped her and other Playboy bunnies. By the late 1960s, Cosby was a married man well on his way to having 5 children, not to mention a landmark career in stand-up comedy, television, and beyond. He was also no stranger to Playboy. Now that connection is among coming back to him as more and more women, at least 21 by CNN's count, accuse him of sexual misconduct. Many of them claim the legendary comedian drugged and raped them. Among Cosby's accusers is Judith Huth, who recently sued Cosby alleging he sexually molested her at the Playboy Mansion when she was 15 years old. Another woman who worked as a server, or bunny, at a Playboy club accused Cosby of forcibly kissing her, and a former Playboy mate alleged he drugged and raped her. And PJ Maston, one of the two ex-bunnies who publicly accused Cosby of sexual assault, told CNN's Allison Camrota that there are other women who have not come forward and will not. There are 12 former bunnies that I know that are ashamed to come forward, frightened to come forward, married with families, and don't want to come forward with this, Maston said. But were also drugged and raped by Bill Cosby. Cosby's camp didn't respond to the CNN's request for comment on Masterson's allegations, though his lawyer has repeatedly and strongly denied such accusations in recent weeks. Notably, too, none of the accusers is known to have immediately gone to law enforcement, nor has Cosby been ever charged with this crime. As to Playboy, Maston says she told her supervisor soon after she claimed Cosby had drugged and raped her at a Chicago hotel. She said to me, "You know that's Hef's best friend, right?" Masterson recounted, referring Playboy founder Hugh Hefner. "I said, yes." She said, "Well, nobody is going to believe you. I suggest you just keep your mouth shut." Hefner responded to the allegations in a statement Friday by saying, "Bill Cosby has been a good friend for many years, and the mere thought of these allegations is truly saddening. I will never tolerate this kind of behavior, regardless of who was involved." The new accusations could further sully the reputation of Cosby, the man behind children's programming like Fat Albert and Little Bill.
Him December 69, after my 6-year-old son died, by a friend of mine who was my bunny instructor at the Playboy Club. I think that she felt that maybe it would be a good professional connection. He really had a thing for her, apparently, and I was having a very bad day over my son's death. He said to her, "You know, maybe Vic needs to go over and get a massage and go to the spa. She'll feel better. Call me when you guys are done, and I'll send my car over to your house and pick you up, and I'll take you to dinner tonight." So that's what happened. I was just so down, and he kept making these corny jokes trying to get my spirits up, and I just, wasn't really in the mood. And so he gave me a pill, a capsule, actually, I think it was, a red capsule. Said, "Here, take this, you'll feel better." Then the pills were kicking in. He gave us another one. And then I think probably we were becoming not appropriate in public, because it was, the face in plate syndrome, I don't think, that would have been very good for him. So anyway, he said he would drive us home. When the car stopped, we weren't in front of my grandmother's house. We were on a windy little narrow road somewhere higher than where we had been, and in front of a little apartment building. And so he took us up to a little place. He said he wanted to show us his memorabilia from his show, I Spy, I guess is what he was doing at that point. And she lay down on one, or sat down on one little love seat, and then just kind of lay back and passed out. And I was on the other one and pretty much passed out. And I kept opening my eyes and looking, because I was getting spinners and I was feeling like I was going to throw up. And he was sitting on the edge of the love seat where she was passed out, and he was looking down at her, with this really predatory look. And if I had misinterpreted that, there was a growing bulge in his pants. And I started panicking, and I was trying to distract him, get his attention away. It was very clear to me that he was going to assault her while she was asleep or passed out, unconscious. And then he came over to me. It's very difficult for me to talk about what he did, You know, anyway, when he was done, he started to walk out, and I said, how the hell, you know, in slurred words, how are we going to get out of here? How do we get home? And he said, call a cab, and left. I can't hear his name. I can't see his image on television. I have to hit the remote. I have to walk out of the room. I have to change the channel. I still feel, you know, even though I don't consciously think about it all the time, I don't, yet it is like this subliminal soundtrack. You just feel ashamed and dirty, and even though you know it wasn't your fault, you know.
There, her name is Holly Madison, a former Playboy bunny and a former girlfriend of Hugh Hefner's, one of many. Holly is the author of a new book. It's called Down the Rabbit Hole: Curious Adventures and Cautionary Tales of a Former Playboy Bunny. Holly, welcome to Good Day.
Thanks for having me.
How you doing? Boy,
I'm
oh boy,
good.
this book is getting a lot of press.
Yeah, I wasn't even expecting it. It's crazy.
But you had to expect something because you went after Hugh Hefner, right?
Yeah, I definitely expected some attention, but nothing like this. It's really...
What was your intention when you wrote the book?
Well, when I wrote the book, it wasn't about, you know, being mad or having an axe to grind or anything like that. I just wanted to tell my side of the story because for so many years, you know, I left the mansion 7 years ago, and I always wanted to start fresh. I didn't want to, you know, ride on Playboy's coattails anymore. I wanted to, you know, do my own things and be known for who I was. And for so many years, because of that, I just wouldn't even talk about Playboy. If people would ask me about it, I'd just give some kind of benign, you know, nice answer to just get the question out of the way. And I kind of felt like I was living a lie because, you know, still every so often I meet people and they're like, hey, you still talk to Hef? And I'm like, no. And they look at me and they want to know why. And I just felt like I couldn't really be honest about my experience. And he always had a chance to tell his side of the story through the things he picked for the show, which he controlled, or articles he had written about us for his magazine. So I thought it was only fair that I share my story.
So when people, I could see people asking that because we all kind of had this sense, oh, Hef's a cool guy, he's laid back. How old were you when you met him?
22.
And he was how old?
I think he was like 85.
85. And you entered into a, would you call it a romantic relationship? From the outside looking in, you were boyfriend, girlfriend.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I think he was 76. Sorry.
and you went in there not because you liked him, but, or, well, what
No,
were your motivations?
I did actually like him. I thought, you know, he has this great personality on the outside.
As boyfriend material?
Yeah, and he comes off as like, you know, a nice guy, and I wanted to believe that about him for so many years. And of course I was attracted to the lifestyle as well and thought that being in Playboy would be a great stepping stone, but I just got myself in way too deep and really lost myself the 7 years I was there.
You talk about some of the first experiences that you had with Hugh, and it wasn't a pretty picture. I mean, you know, you talk about there was zero intimacy involved, no kissing, nothing. It was so brief that I can't even recall what it felt like beyond having a heavy body on top of mine.
Yeah, that was the hardest chapter for me to write, definitely. It was the one that I kept wanting to skip over and come back to. It was the hardest for me to remember because I was heavily intoxicated that night, and also it was just something I'd, you know, blocked from my mind for so long and never wanted to talk about, and was kind of a painful memory for me because it wasn't what I wanted the relationship to be like about, and was kind of a painful memory for me because it wasn't what I wanted the relationship to be like.
I don't know how familiar Holly is with sexual abuse, but if you state any type of trauma from sex, it's usually because you don't want to do it. Even when you're dating someone, a lot of people get that confused. In married couples or just in relationships in general, no means no. If you are even in the act of about to have any type of sex, whether intercourse, oral, or anything like that, and you do not want to do it, you do not have to. If you feel like you can't, and if you feel like if you say something, it's going to be a problem, whether it gets physical or you're mentally treated, so emotional abuse or anything in that nature, because that can be a threat as well, just being emotionally abused. It doesn't always have to be physical. So with that being said, if she was feeling that way, then you were allegedly raped. I'm not going to state that, you know, and not all rape is violent or anything like that. Sometimes pursuing something overzealously to where the person feels extremely pressured into doing something to where they feel like their option is taken away. Holly, in my perspective, in my opinion, I feel that she was raped. She stated that it was traumatic. She stated that she didn't want to do it, and she stated that she didn't want the relationship to go there. Hugh Hefner should have acknowledged those things and left her be sexually or removed her from his home, not keep putting yourself on someone that does not want you.
When you were a bunny, were there drugs also involved?
Well, he offered me Quaaludes the first night out, and I thought it was really bizarre. I barely knew what a Quaalude.
Drinks that I'm clear about. He had his hand on the back of my head, and he was trying to push it towards his penis.
Nobody believed you, and who would have believed me? Playmate.
I didn't know if he was going to kill me or rape me.
Feeling drugged and him having sex with me.
The last thing I remember was Bill Cosby in a patchwork robe, dropping his robe and getting on top.
He started grabbing at my chest and, starting to try to fondle me.
People magazine believed us, believed me, and that piece, then my family dropped me.
He grabs me, pulls me like really tight to him, kisses me in the mouth like really, really rough.
I remember is being on his couch with him taking my clothes off.
I was in a white t-shirt and my panties, and he was looming over me in a white robe.
This has affected me in my house. It's affecting me. And it has probably affected these women. But I'm strong, and I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet, and I'm going to tell my side of the story, and it's not going to end here.
Quote, Bill drugged me last night, then had sex with me. I don't understand it. It's not like I would have said no to anything. Charlotte, fill this out for me. I read your article in Salon, and so she was someone who had a consensual relationship with him, so didn't understand why he would drug her. Is that right?
Right. I mean, it made no sense to her, and she was really pretty, sexually wild, and she was willing to go along with anything, and it didn't make any sense.
Well, I'm still very disturbed. What I cannot figure out, and I kind of wish this was the Behavior Bureau, but maybe you can answer this. I don't understand when someone's in a consensual relationship.
Yeah, why
if
you?
the object.
I know. Yes.
I don't get it. I'm struggling with it. I need an answer. Drew.
Well, people. I listen.
Why drug
Well, first
someone?
of all, let's just say we can't corroborate any of the stories. This is Charlotte's reporting. We can't corroborate reporters independently.
Why allegedly drug someone?
But there are people that have fetishes about people being asleep, and there are people that do things that they don't want to see people to see when they're awake. I'm just that's just in my clinical experience. I don't have any notion of this being anything to do with these cases. Do you have any sense why he might, if he did in fact drug these women, why he would have done so?
I just have to assume that maybe he got excited over the idea of a woman being out. I mean, I really don't know.
I want to show my panel a fascinating interview we found from 1991. Bill Cosby was on CNN promoting a book. He tells an interesting story. Take a look.
Spanish fly was the thing that all boys from age 11 on up to death, we will still be searching for Spanish fly.
That's right.
And what was the old story was, if you took a little drop, no, it was on the head of a pin.
So
and
drop
you put
it
it
in
in
a
the drink.
Coca-Cola. Don't matter.
It doesn't make it, and the girl would drink it, and
she's yours.
Hello, America.
What I wanted the relationship to be like.
When you were a bunny, were there drugs also involved?
Well, he offered me Quaaludes the first night out, and I thought it was really bizarre. I barely knew what a Quaalude was. No young girl did in 2001.
You quoted him as saying something in the book.
Oh, yeah, he said in the 70s they used to call them thigh openers, and I thought, well, this is really bizarre. And over the years, I saw him offer them to girls every night we would go out.
Do you think he was a pedophile?
I don't think he was a pedophile.
I'm just asking because he liked young girls.
Well, I understand, but
Greg,
you're... Well,
and he's
no,
in his 70s and 80s, and he was going after 18 and 19-year-old girls.
Well, sorry, but you were in your early 20s, right?
Yeah, but I think he liked people who were, starstruck and easy to control, and those were certainly, like me, were the type of people who were most likely to fall for him.
So was he a control freak? Tell us about the rules of the house.
There were a lot of rules. I didn't necessarily know exactly what I was getting into when I moved in as far as all the rules. I knew there was a 9 o'clock curfew, but I soon found out you also weren't really allowed to fraternize with the staff too much or he'd get jealous. I was asked to quit my waitressing job not long after I moved in, which it was just a waitressing job, but I feel like that was a big mistake for me because it was me kind of giving up the last of my independence.
But you were desperate at the time, right?
Yeah,
I was
broke. I was losing my lease on my apartment. I was in college. I wanted to stay in LA and make it, and I thought, this seemed like kind of a light, fun situation, and I just got myself in way too deep.
I heard the mansion was a bit of a wreck on the inside.
It's a very beautiful property, but it had some, gross carpet and a lot of dogs
And
everywhere.
you were one of how many girlfriends for Hef?
There were 7 girlfriends when I first moved in.
And I mean, I'm just trying to, because it seemed from the excerpts that you weren't into him. I heard a moment ago you kind of liked his personality. I mean, what were the feelings between the two of you, at least on your side?
Well, I definitely liked his personality, and I blamed the girls for a lot of the problems. I always thought, well, they're mean to him, they pick on me, they make fun of him behind his back. So I always blamed the girls for the problems and for why I wasn't happy in the relationship for so long. But, now that I have a little bit of hindsight behind me, I see that, he was really the manipulator and didn't want us getting along because that served him better.
And you talked about how the girls would fake it, too, with him in intimate
Oh, yeah, all the girls wanted to
situations.
get out of the bedroom as quickly as possible, and they all kind of acted like they were into each other, but nothing was really
So
happening on that.
you now is like, I guess he's either read the excerpts or he's heard about the book, and he's not too happy about the book, and he's released a statement. In it, he says, sadly, there are a few who have chosen to rewrite history in an attempt to stay in the spotlight. I guess, as the old saying goes, you can't win them all. He's, basically saying you have revisionist history.
Definitely not. Everything in my book is absolutely true. I know it's not the version of the story he'd like to tell, but I have as much right to tell my story as he's always had to tell his. So
It did seem kind of weird from the outside that he would have so many girlfriends. I mean, you were one of how many again?
7.
7.
You kind of, though, expected, like, he was this great, lover. And he wasn't, right?
You just
laughed.
Yeah, I don't think that's why any of those girls were there.
It was all about career furtherance, right? And
Yeah, definitely. Everybody saw it as, some kind of a great opportunity.
So how were you able to basically get out of his clutches and go on your own?
Well, for so many years, I tried to be happy and I tried to be the best girlfriend I could, and, I tried to love him, and it got to a point when I was there for 7 years and Bridget and Kendra were kind of going their separate ways, and I was becoming the only girlfriend, which was what I thought I wanted for so long and what everybody else thought I wanted. And without the other girls to kind of play off of, his personality really started shining through, and, we got in several stupid arguments over the course of one weekend where I kind of felt, I felt like I was really learning who he was, and I couldn't really take it anymore.
your family, were they pressuring you to get out of that situation? I mean, looks a lot of bad stuff happened like the first week.
Yeah, I definitely didn't confide anything in my family. I was really embarrassed by a lot of the situation, and I think one of the reasons I stayed there for so long is because I was embarrassed by the decision I made, and I felt really branded and judged by it. So I definitely didn't talk to my parents about it and just tried to make it seem like it was, really benign thing.
Did you do a lot of drinking and drugs to kind of get through that period?
I didn't do drugs, but I did drink a lot anytime we went out because I would get bored or, not feel good about myself, or not, I wasn't happy being around the other girls necessarily.
Right, club nights, Wednesday and Friday. That was the drill. What was the daily routine there, if you could, real quick?
We were kind of free to do what we wanted during the day, but we weren't really allowed to work. So it was a lot of, going to the salon, or I started taking some classes on the side, things like that. And then we were expected to go out with him on Wednesday and Friday and be there for buffets on the weekends and things like that.
So kind of, allegedly a chauvinist in a way, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that was obvious to everyone but me at one point.
So, the shows and everything, the TV shows. I mean, you could have left several times, but you chose not to because.
Well, there's a lot of
it was
reasons.
Easy money?
No, I don't think it was so much about the money. I think it was more to me about how I felt I would be judged once I left, and all this baggage I was carrying with me, and how was I going to redefine myself, and I was kind of scared of that. And I was kind of right to be, because I'm still, talking about it now and kind of, just now telling my side of the story, because it's definitely the only thing people think of when they think of you, and definitely.
So are you when you look back, are you, do you regret being a Playboy bunny?
No, because I think I learned a lot from it, and there were some positive experiences that came out of it, definitely, but I wish I would have had, my head screwed on my shoulders a little bit more.
In the clip that we just watched, Holly states that Hugh Hefner did Quaaludes, that he liked his girls to be on Quaaludes. He offered them drugs, he offered them pills, and he also would spike drinks. The same thing Bill Cosby did. They are one and the same when it comes to that nature, into drugging women to doing things that they want them to do sexually. I feel that with Cosby, because a lot of people say, well, why would you want to Quaalude someone? Why would you want them unconscious? When a person is unconscious, you want them unconscious for 2 reasons. One, you don't think that they are going to be sexual with you with their consent. Or 2, there are a lot of sexual things you're going to do with them that you find weird yourself that they probably wouldn't like, or something that you are ashamed of. You don't want the person conscious while you are doing these sexual things.
Call you every 8 minutes.
Lily Bernard was a sometime cast member on Cosby's show, which was taped in New York City. Bernard says Cosby, whom she then considered a mentor and father figure, told her to meet him in Atlantic City in 1990.
He told me that I had to go to Atlantic City to meet a producer that he wanted to introduce me to who would further my career.
Once there, she says Cosby gave her a drink that made her violently ill, and then helped her to the bathroom, she thought, to clean up.
Because you're still thinking he's this father figure. He's going to wash me. And the next thing I remember, now he's not only pulling off my skirt and my jacket, but he's also taking off my stockings and my shoes. And I must have passed out at this point, because the next thing I remember, sorry?
When she woke up naked and groggy in a hotel bathtub, she says she heard Cosby's voice.
I remember him saying, "Are you okay, Bernard?" And then I must have passed out again in the tub naked. I'm totally naked. I don't know how I got into the tub, so I imagine he must have either carried me or lifted me or dragged me. I don't know.
Did you think about going to the police?
Yes. I told Bill Cosby I would call the police. I said I would call the police. And he threatened me that if I called the police, that the minute that I come back from the police, he would go to the police and file a police report against me for false accusation and defamation. And who are they going to believe, Bernard, you or me?
What did you think? Who are they going to believe?
They would never believe me. I mean, he was one of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry.
We'll begin tonight with breaking news. Court documents that Bill Cosby fought to keep secret have just been made public. In a sworn deposition, the comedian admitted that he gave drugs to women with the intent of having sex with them. This after years of stonewalling and denials, as one woman after another accused him of sexual misconduct. Michelle Miller has the court record. Michelle?
Scott, according to the court documents related to a 2005 lawsuit against Bill Cosby, the actor and comedian testified in a deposition specifically about drugging women. A lawyer asked him this question: would you, or when you got the Quaaludes, was it in your mind that you were going to use these Quaaludes for young women that you wanted to have sex with? Cosby answered yes. Now, at the time, Cosby's lawyers claimed the actor was confused by the question. The lawsuit was filed for a former...
Thank you for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed yourself. We will definitely be back with more parts in this. Let me know in the comments below how you feel about the video. We will be back. This is just the beginning of surviving the Playboy Mansion.
Flex,